Do you have any regrets on how it happened and everything that's happened since then? I don't have any regrets with anything. I'm going to compete and play 100% hard no matter who it is, like I said, or who we're playing. No, I don't have any regrets. Chennedy Carter is in free fall. Just weeks ago, she had a job, a team, and a future in the WNBA. Now she's completely unwanted, jobless, and staring at the very real possibility that her career might be over for good. Guys, it is officially official. Chennedy Carter is an unrestricted free agent in the WNBA. The Chicago Sky opt to not extend a qualifying offer to her. And right now she is on the market and is free and available to go wherever she wants. Now, guys, let's talk about this. And all of this, it traces back to one massive mistake, the moment she attacked Caitlin Clark in front of a national audience. Let's rewind to that night, because this is where everything started falling apart for Carter. The game between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever was already tense. Clark, as usual, was playing at a high level, controlling the offense, finding her spots, and frustrating defenders with her elite shot-making ability. But on the other side, Carter wasn't having the same success. She was struggling, playing chippy, and letting her emotions get the best of her. Then, in a split second, she snapped. With the ball nowhere near them, Carter delivered a blatant, unprovoked shove to Caitlin Clark. The moment was shocking, not just because of the force of the shove, but because it seemed so personal. It wasn't a basketball play. It wasn't a hard foul in the middle of a play. It was a cheap shot fueled by frustration. The crowd gasped. The referees immediately called the foul, and the entire WNBA world took notice, because, let's be real, this wasn't just any player Carter shoved. This was Caitlin Clark, and if there's one thing the WNBA isn't going to tolerate, it's someone targeting their biggest star. The Chicago Sky knew it instantly. By the time the game ended, Carter had not only lost the respect of the fans, but she had also put her own career at risk. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Fans called for action. Analysts ripped her apart on national TV, and within days the Chicago Sky made their stance crystal clear. They didn't just bench her or discipline her. They cut her loose. No contract extension, no core designation. Nothing, and that's when things really started to spiral out of control for Carter. She wasn't just cut. She became untouchable. Normally, when a talented player like Carter becomes available, teams start making calls. They start exploring options, figuring out how to bring her in and make it work. But this time, silence. Not a single team showed interest, not a single organization even entertained the idea of signing her. She was completely and totally ignored, and the reason why is deeper than just one bad play. Because here's the thing, this isn't the first time Carter has been a problem. She has a history of locker room issues, clashing with coaches and burning bridges with teams. This shove on Clark, it wasn't an isolated incident, it was the final straw. Carter had already worn out her welcome with multiple franchises. Now, with this latest disaster, she gave teams the perfect excuse to move on without her. One executive even said it outright: we wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. And in professional sports, once you get that kind of reputation, it's nearly impossible to recover from. Let's talk about why no team wants her. It's not just about her attitude, it's about who she went after. Caitlin Clark is the biggest asset the WNBA has had in years. She's boosting TV ratings, bringing in more fans, and selling out arenas across the country. The WNBA needs her. So when Carter blatantly attacked Clark, she didn't just commit a dirty play, she committed career suicide. Executives don't want a player who puts their team's image at risk. They don't want someone who can't control their emotions on the court. And they definitely don't want someone who openly disrespects the league's biggest star. The Chicago Sky saw it, the rest of the WNBA sees it. And Carter is the only one who didn't see it coming. And let's talk about her reaction, because this is what sealed her fate. After the game, when Carter had the perfect opportunity to take accountability, apologize, or at least acknowledge what happened, she did the exact opposite. She ignored it. She stood in front of reporters, shrugged it off, and even lied, saying she didn't say anything during the incident. Seriously, that's her response. No remorse. No apology, just pure denial. And that's when everyone knew Carter wasn't just a hot-headed player, she was a lost cause. She had a chance to salvage her reputation. She could have owned up to it, said she made a mistake, and at least tried to move forward. Instead, she made it worse. Because here's the truth, teams don't just look at talent, they look at character, and Carter, she just proved to the entire league that she's not worth the trouble. And that brings us to the coldest part of this entire situation. Her own teammates don't even want her anymore. You'd think that at least some players would stick by her side, especially Angel Reese, who was supposed to be her closest ally on the team. But nope, Reese just unfollowed Carter on social media, and in today's world, that's a statement. That's like a giant neon sign that says we're done. And when your own teammates don't even want to be associated with you, that's a death sentence in the WNBA, because this isn't just about one bad play. This is about an entire league realizing that Carter is more trouble than she's worth. And that's why she's completely jobless right now. Not a single team is interested, not a single coach is calling. Not even overseas teams are looking at her as an option. She's not just out of a job, she might be out of basketball entirely, and the worst part, she did this to herself. Nobody forced her to shove Caitlin Clark. Nobody made her act reckless. She made every decision that led her here. And now she's sitting at home watching as the WNBA moves on without her. And you know who's thriving? Caitlin Clark. While Carter is panicking, Clark is selling out arenas, breaking records, and becoming the face of women's basketball. Carter thought she could take Clark down. Instead, she only took herself down. And the WNBA, they don't even care that she's gone. Chennedy Carter is living with the consequences of her actions, and it's clear that she never saw this coming. She thought she could get away with her reckless play, that she could shove Caitlin Clark, brush it off, and move on like nothing happened. But now her career is in ruins. No team, no offers, no future in the WNBA, and what's even more brutal, nobody is coming to her rescue, because here's the thing. Carter did this to herself. It wasn't just about one bad play or even one bad game. It was about a pattern of behavior that finally caught up to her. And if you like the gas video, then like the video and subscribe to the channel. And now the league, the fans, and even her own teammates have had enough. Let's talk about why Carter's WNBA career might be over for good. In sports, talent usually gets you second chances. Even players with troubled paths find ways to land on new teams, because at the end of the day, if you can help a team when you're valuable, but Carter, she's proving to be the exception to the rule. No matter how skilled she is, teams don't want her. Why? Because talent isn't the only thing that matters, character matters. Locker room presence matters, team chemistry matters, and Carter, she's been labeled a problem in every single one of those areas. Multiple WNBA teams have spoken behind the scenes, and from what we're hearing, there isn't a single franchise willing to take a chance on her. One insider even said she's talented, but she's not worth the headache. That's how bad this has gotten. Carter didn't just hurt her reputation, she completely destroyed it. And at this point, her career isn't just in trouble, it might already be over. Why? She can't blame anyone but herself. Some people might try to defend Carter, saying, oh, it was just one bad moment, but let's be real, that's not the case. This isn't one bad moment, this is a pattern of bad decisions. Look at her history. She was already labeled a problem player before she even got to the Chicago Sky. She's been on multiple teams in just a few short years. That's not normal for a young player with talent. WNBA teams don't just give up on players who can score and contribute. They only do it when they realize that player is hurting the team more than helping it. And that's exactly what happened with Carter. She had multiple chances to prove she could be a professional, a leader, a team player. Instead, she doubled down on her bad behavior. She pushed the WNBA's biggest star, showed zero remorse, and then acted like she did nothing wrong. That's why nobody wants her now, because if a player can't take accountability, they're not going to change. And if they're not going to change, then teams aren't going to waste their time on them. It's that simple. Here's where things get really bad for Carter. She doesn't even have the support of her own teammates anymore. If there's ever a sign that someone's career is finished, it's when their own teammates don't want them around, and Carter, she's been completely abandoned. Let's start with Angel Reese, the player who is supposed to be her biggest supporter. A few weeks ago, Reese and Carter were seen as a duo, teammates who had each other's backs, but now Reese has unfollowed Carter on social media, and if you don't think that means anything, you haven't been paying attention to how these things work. In today's world, an unfollow is the biggest public statement you can make without actually saying anything, and this was loud and clear. Reese wants nothing to do with Carter. And it's not just Reese. Multiple sources inside the Chicago Sky organization are saying that other players were already pushing for Carter to be let go. Think about that. A team that needs talent was willing to lose one of their best players for nothing. That tells you everything you need to know. Carter wasn't just a bad teammate. She was a toxic presence in the locker room, and that's why Chicago made sure to get rid of her as fast as possible. While Carter is sitting at home jobless and ignored, the rest of the WNBA is thriving. The league is bigger than ever, and it's all because of one player, Caitlin Clark. Clark's impact is unbelievable. She's breaking records, selling out arenas, and bringing in more fans than ever before. Meanwhile, Carter is sitting on the sidelines watching as the WNBA moves on without her, and that's the worst part of all of this for Carter. She's completely irrelevant now. A year ago, she had a spotlight. Now she's just another forgotten name because the WNBA doesn't need her. Teams are stacking their rosters, signing players who bring value on and off the court, and Carter, she doesn't bring either. Her attitude is toxic. Her presence is a distraction. Her future is non-existent. And if she thought the league would come crawling back to give her another chance, she was dead wrong. Because while Carter is panicking hoping for a lifeline, the WNBA is celebrating record success. Without her, let's be honest, this might be it for Carter, because right now there are 0 teams willing to take a chance on her. She's officially an unrestricted free agent, meaning she's free to sign with any team, but guess what? No one is interested, and at this point it's hard to imagine that changing anytime soon. Maybe a team gets desperate later in the season. Maybe she goes overseas to try and rebuild her reputation. Maybe she somehow convinces a coach to give her one more chance. But even if that happens, the damage is done, because now Chennedy Carter will always be known as the player who threw her career away. She could have been great. She could have been one of the best guards in the league. Instead, she's unemployed, ignored, and panicking. And unless she makes a drastic change, this might be the last time we ever talk about her in the WNBA. Carter's chances are getting worse by the day. Here's what makes this situation even worse. Teams have already moved on. It's one thing to be unwanted for a few weeks, but the longer this drags on, the harder it becomes for Carter to find another team. Right now, teams are finalizing their rosters and preparing for the upcoming season. If she was going to get a second chance, it would have happened already. Instead, she's watching other players get signed, seeing rookies get opportunities, and realizing that her name isn't coming up in conversations. Her agent has reportedly been making calls to WNBA teams trying to convince anyone to bring her in, and what has the response been? Silence. No one wants to deal with the drama, the attitude, or the baggage that Carter brings, and let's be honest, if you're a WNBA coach, why would you take that risk? Why bring in a player who has a history of burning bridges when you can sign someone else who will actually help the team without causing problems? Carter isn't just jobless right now, she's becoming irrelevant, and that's the worst place you can be in professional sports. When teams stop thinking about you, stop talking about you, stop seeing you as an option, that's when your career is officially over. And Carter, she's dangerously close to that point. She had the talent, she had the opportunities, but she made the worst mistake of her career, and now she's paying the price. Chennedy Carter's career is hanging by a thread, and no team wants to touch her. She had talent, she had opportunity, but she threw it all away with bad decisions and a toxic attitude. The WNBA is moving forward, thriving with record-breaking numbers, and Carter, she's stuck in the past, watching from the sidelines. Do you think Carter deserves another chance? Should a team take a risk and sign her, or is this the end of her career for good? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your take on this wild situation, and if you love keeping up with real WNBA news, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. This league is changing fast, and we'll be here to break it all down for you. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and subscribe my channel.